What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blue is Live. I'm your host, as always, Tanner Blue, where we have a complete breakdown of Super Bowl 57. The Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Philadelphia Eagles in a fantastic Super Bowl game all the way up until the last second, and I will get into that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining us here today on the show. Means a lot. Super Bowl last night was spectacular. It certainly was a really good game. We've seen worse. Would I like to have seen a little bit more defense? Sure, but in the Super Bowl matchup in a game, I think we got the two best teams on offense and some really solid defenses. But in the Super Bowl, you'd like to see some high scoring, something fun, something to really draw you in and have you hanging on by the edge of your seat. And I think we got that in this game. The Kansas City Chiefs win 38-35 in this football game. I tell you what, guys, this game was like three different games in one. The first half, the Eagles looked unstoppable. They looked like they were, unbeatable almost. The Chiefs obviously hung around in the game, but there were points when it looked like the Eagles were trying to deliver knockout blows to the Chiefs early in this game. Jalen Hurts, listen, I know that the Eagles lost this football game, but I want to give it up to Jalen Hurts. He had a fantastic game. We'll get into more of that, but the Eagles, I know they came out on the losing end of this game, and obviously a very interesting call there at the end that could have potentially changed the game in outcome for the Eagles, but overall, the Eagles have nothing to be ashamed of. This came all the way down to the last seconds of the game. The Eagles had a great year. They've got a loaded roster, man. Jalen Hurts, he's the real deal. I doubted him at points. I never really thought he would be this good in the NFL. Certainly not. I was wrong. The guy's been fantastic. He's been a great player. The Eagles, they've got a stacked roster, man. I mean, they got guys on offense and defense everywhere all over the field. Young guys with experience. I mean, it's a good mix. So they've got some excellent coaches as well. Some coaches that are probably getting ready to lose to head coaching jobs or offensive coordinator positions on other teams. But nonetheless, this was a great year for the Philadelphia Eagles. They really have a solid team and a good foundation to build upon. Now, back to the game itself. Like I said, the first half, it was a wave of emotions. The Eagles were really delivering knockout blows. Big play after big play. Jalen Hurts was looking unstoppable. The Chiefs, they were just kind of hanging in there. Just slowly but surely hanging in there. But come the second half, you can never count out Patrick Mahomes. And I don't think anyone did. Even though the ankle was concerning. He got kind of tripped up on that last play there. And the ankle was bad going into halftime. And a lot of people were concerned, but I'm sure he took some of the best medicine that football money can buy, and he was able to get back up and look a lot better after that first half. And he came back, man, and he did what Patrick Mahomes does, and he shows you why he's the best quarterback in football, and undoubtedly going to be one of the best of all time when it's all said and done. That second half, I think the Chiefs scored pretty much on almost, it might have been every drive they had the ball, or almost every drive. I mean, they did a fantastic job of really switching things up, and I want to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff of the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, I'm sorry if I said the last name wrong, Steve Spagnuolo, the guy on special teams, the special teams coach, I'm sorry I can't think of the name off the top of my head. This was a coaching clinic of adjustments. The first half of this game, yes, the Chiefs looked good. They looked like the Chiefs in things that they could do on offense and move around. Come second half, when the Chiefs got in the red zone the last two times and they ran those kind of like those inside whip routes to the outside, they had guys wide open in the end zone. We all know the red zone is super tough to score in. They did it with ease by perfect design plays by Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and the offensive coaching staff, and they made adjustments to where they needed to be made. The Eagles defense, I think it was third all time for most sacks in a season. I think it was 78 or 80. They were somewhere in that range. I don't think the Eagles registered a single sack in this game. The offensive line in the game planning, especially in the second half, was top tier. And this shows why NFL coaching is so important and why having good coaches at every level of the game, offensive line, offensive coordinators, your special teams guys, I mean, just everywhere, they had good coaching. And it certainly helps when you got some of the best players in their positions, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, guys like that. But hey, you mix in great talent with great coaching, this is what you get. And I just want to give credit to the coaching staff of the Kansas City Chiefs in the second half, making adjustments, really taking advantage of the Eagles defense, who was one of the better defenses in the NFL, especially in terms of sacks. And they've got a pretty solid secondary, I would say. And, they were able to open things up a little bit, and they got moving in the second half. And they also had that punt return. That punt return was huge. Kansas City, that punt return by Kadarius Toney, that certainly set the stage. You really don't see a lot of special teams in terms of return men really doing much in games now, because the way that the rules are set up, it's so tough. You really don't see a lot of punt returns or kick returns for touchdowns or big plays as much as they used to. But they were able to get a big play there, and that really sparked their offense. And, also Isaiah Pacheco, he had a very nice game out of the backfield. 15 carries, 76 yards. He had a touchdown. He also did some stuff on the receiving end as well. But the Chiefs, they got it done. They hung around. They weren't playing their best football in the second half, in the first half, but they were there. They hung in there. Come second half, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs coaching staff, they turn it on, and this is what you get. This is what you get. And you were looking at one of the greatest teams of all time. You're looking at a fantastic quarterback. You're looking at an all-time great coach. You're looking at an all-time great tight end. I mean, you're looking at all-time great stuff whenever you are seeing what's on the field right now and what we saw last night. And that was just a masterclass in terms of good coaching and executing plays when they need to be made. So I just want to tip my hats off to the Chiefs. Hey, another Super Bowl. They've been to, I think, 2 Super Bowls within 4 years. So, they've done a fantastic job. And, hey, here they are. 2 Super Bowls within 4 years. So, they've done a great job. So, shout out to the Chiefs. They are your Super Bowl champions. Now, let's talk about the biggest part of this football game. Yes, there are reasons that the Eagles lost this game. Their defense, which was great all year, could not stop Patrick Mahomes when it mattered. There was the turnover by Jalen Hurts, which, was a touchdown swing. I know they were able to get back down there and score, but, that was a momentum shifter. There were certain things that the Chiefs did just a little bit better than the Eagles, and that goes to the execution of the coaching staff and the players. However, late in the fourth quarter, there was about a minute 30, a minute 20, something like that left in this football game. The referees call a holding call, a pass interference holding on James Bradbury, the corner for the Eagles. Now, going back and looking at this replay, there's been so much conversation about this call, today, and there will be conversations about this for years. Was this the right call? Was this the right call? Was this bad? Was this good? I tell you what, in my opinion, the refs up until this call were actually perfect tonight. They were perfect. They were perfect. They did a really good job of just staying out of the game. There wasn't many penalties. They were, pretty much just letting the guys play. And I respected that. And I thought it was great. Let the guys play in the Super Bowl. Yes, call things that need to be called, obviously, but they let the guys play. And coming off the AFC Championship game, a lot of people in it, hashtag NFL rigged, which, we talked about on the last show. People were pissed. People were upset with the NFL officiating, rightfully so. So, and Roger Goodell came out, this week leading up to the Super Bowl and doing the press conference and all that stuff, saying, hey, I don't think NFL officiating has been bad. I think it's been some of the best. Well, I disagree, but I think that they actually did a pretty good job up until this point. Did James Bradberry tug on the jersey of Juju Smith-Schuster? Yes, he did. Was that enough to warrant a holding call on the defense when you're that late in the game to have that decide the game? I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't think so. I think that yes, there was some tugging, there was some grabbing, there was a little bit of hand movement, but it was not egregious to the effect of having that call being made that late in the game to ultimately give the Chiefs the opportunity to drain the clock and kick the field goal. Yes, the Chiefs still had to kick the field goal to win the game, which they did. But who's to say in today's modern NFL, we've seen the Chiefs score with almost no time left on the clock, to give the Philadelphia Eagles a chance with, I think it was 2 timeouts or 1 or 2 timeouts left to drive the field with a minute 30, when they get the ball back, maybe a minute 15, minute 20, to drive the length of the field to have a chance for a field goal to tie. They absolutely would have had a chance to do so, and it would have made the game 10 times better. But we did not get that. Instead, we got a very ticky-tack call to end the game. And here we are, not to take anything away from the Chiefs, because I just got done praising them, not to take anything away from the Eagles. Here we are, talking about this call. And it's tough. It's a really bitter pill to swallow. I was all in on this game. And then when that happened, all my emotion, all my built-up drama that was made during the game that I felt, it disappeared. It disappeared. The Chiefs ran down the clock. They kicked the field goal. And that was it. I really didn't even care to watch the celebration after. And I just kind of felt deflated because I felt it was the wrong call. People will say, obviously people will say this in the comments, I'm sure, people that, will watch the video. But Tanner, James Bradberry admitted that he made a holding call. He admitted that he grabbed the jersey of Smith-Schuster and it was a holding call. It was the right call. Am I saying that he didn't grab his jersey? No, he did. But to the effect of it being that blatant of a call and happening that late in the game when it's that deciding factor, especially when you've let the guys play all night, I'm sure that was probably one of the lightest holdings that probably happened in the game if you were to go back and watch every single snap. But they threw the flag. And, James Bradberry, he used to play for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, me being a Panthers fan, I loved him as a player. He's a stand-up act, a really nice guy, a very solid player, I will say as well. And to see him come out and to just admit that and just say that, I think that's something that a grown man should do. And he admitted that. And do I think that the call should have been made? No, I don't. I don't think he should have to apologize. But he did, and I commend him for that. It was a very respectful thing to do. And I hope, I'm sure he's going to think about it a lot, but I hope it doesn't get to him too much because James is a very good player. And, I disagree with the call. I think the ball was not catchable. I think that obviously people say, well, within 5 yards you can touch, you can jam the receiver and there can be some contact. That is true, but people will say, but you can't hold, you can't grab. Man, I disagree. I disagree with that call. I don't like it. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. But I think this was the wrong call. And, I think stuff is just so geared toward the offense. It is so hard to play defense in this league. I mean, it is tough. And they were laying the wood last night. They were hitting guys hard. And that's what we wanted to see. And I'm glad we saw some of that. Well, some of that, helmet to helmet contact, yeah, probably a little bit. But they let the guys play. They let them play, and there were some hard hits. And to see it just go down like that, it took the game from a 15 out of 10 all the way down to just the bottom for me. I hate to see it go down like that. I disagree with the call. I think without a doubt the Eagles would have gotten down the field and had a chance at something, because that Hail Mary they had, they really had no chance. Jalen Hurts, kind of threw a very underthrown ball, and it just wasn't going to happen. They were probably so deflated at that point with everything to go down there and to make a Hail Mary and, tossing it back behind each other probably wouldn't happen. So that's my thoughts on the Super Bowl itself and that call. Now let's talk about the winners of the game and what this means. So for Patrick Mahomes, what does this mean for Patrick Mahomes? If you've been a fan of the NFL and you've watched Mahomes play, I'm sure you've all seen him. He's been in the league a couple years, won a couple MVPs. He's now won 2 Super Bowls. He's won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think people were already ready to crown Patrick Mahomes to an elite level. I mean, I think most people were willing to say this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. And he will be, no doubt. He's one of the most talented guys we've ever seen. He does things that no other quarterback can do. And he's able to do it in a way that is electrifying and fun to watch. But when it comes down to the crunch time and to get things done, Mahomes is as good as anybody. We just saw the retirement of the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. 7 Super Bowl wins, 10 Super Bowl trips. And we got a long ways to go in Patrick Mahomes' career. We have no idea how many more Super Bowls he's going to win. I'm sure he'll at least get one more, probably a couple. I think this Chiefs dynasty, if you want to call it that, I think they need one more, maybe to call it a dynasty, but they're close. But to have this amount of success in such a short time has been absolutely incredible. I mean, when Patrick Mahomes was drafted, I didn't really know much about the guy. I really didn't. And I'm not really a massive college football fan. I do watch and I do keep up with players, but I really didn't know who Patrick Mahomes was. And the Chiefs took him. I think we all knew that Alex Smith wasn't the long-term answer. Yes, Andy Reid made things happen. Alex Smith played well when he needed to play well, and they got to a certain point in the playoffs, but Mahomes flipped that switch and took them to the top and made them, to what they are now. 2-time Super Bowl winners with him at quarterback. And you pair him with Travis Kelce. You pair him with a good offensive line. You pair him with, they had a bunch of rookies this year playing. I mean, on offense and defense, and these guys, that's kudos to the scouting department for making those picks and getting those things right and having these guys play at a high level. Chiefs are in a good spot. A lot of people make, when you pay the quarterback big money, you can't pay anybody else. Team's going to go down the dumps. And a lot of times that is true. As of right now, look at Russell Wilson. They just hired Sean Payton. We'll see what they can do. Look at Deshaun Watson. Yeah, they paid him a lot of money. He was out for most of the year. So, we'll cut him some slack and see what he can do. But Mahomes, man, I mean, he is entered himself into that. He already was near that level. He's already surpassed it. Of that elite, legendary level. I mean, I'm going to have to come up with my own top 10 quarterbacks of all time list. But right now, I mean, he's making a conversation to already be in that top 2, top 3. And he's like 27, 28. Crazy. To me, he's already surpassed Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. And I love Aaron Rodgers as a player. But it's hard. It's hard not to argue with what you see. The statistics, the hardware the kid's got. I mean, he's done fantastic, and there's going to be more to come. And a lot of people, oh, he's the new golden boy. He's the new Tom Brady. Brady just retired. We have to have, the NFL has to have a guy. Guys like this are good for the sport. People, it would not be as fun if we just saw a random team win the Super Bowl and a random quarterback just show up every year and win the MVP and just no real consistency. A lot of people say they like the underdog, which to a certain extent we do. But you have to have that guy, the needle mover, the guy that can be there for a long time and compete and win for a long time. You need those guys. If not, it becomes boring. It does. Imagine if we had, no dynasties really in the past 20 years. With the Patriots dynasty didn't happen. It's just random teams winning all the time. Okay, it'd be fun to see other teams win, but people say they don't like dynasties. They say they don't like, I get tired of this guy winning all the time, blah, blah, blah. But it's good for the sport, and the sports need it. You need to have dominant dynasty type players, or else it becomes boring. You need somebody to knock this guy off. You want to see him get knocked off, or you want to see him keep winning, no matter what side of the fence that you're on. It is important for guys like Patrick Mahomes and the needle movers to be in this game. And with Tom Brady retiring, this guy, he already was taking over, but now it is complete, as you could say. So, Mahomes' legacy is going to keep growing. The guy's, he's already a Hall of Famer at this point. He's already won 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. What more does he have to do other than just to keep winning and adding them up? I mean, he's on that 2 Super Bowl winning tier level with guys like John Elway and Peyton Manning. I heard the point that on Colin Cowherd's The Volume. I'm not sure which co-host it was that brought it up. I'm sorry, but I was watching a clip from that earlier, and they talked about when Peyton Manning got his second Super Bowl, he was cooked. He was done. He was carried by that defense late in the season, and they were able to get it done. John Elway, been to a lot of Super Bowls, only won 2, but when he got that second one, he was not the John Elway of his prime. We've got a guy here, already won 2 Super Bowls. He's in the middle of his prime. He's maybe in the beginning. So it's incredible to see. It's a lot of fun to watch. I think we're going to get a couple more. And 10, 15 years from now, there's going to be some serious talks about who is the best of all time. And Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be there in that conversation. You can guarantee it. So flipping the switch here, let's talk about the team that was on the losing end of this. The Philadelphia Eagles. I'll be the first to admit, last year, watching Jalen Hurts play, I said, he's got some nice stuff. He can run. He can make some electric plays. I don't think he's got it in him to be a franchise guy. This season, he put up MVP level stats. And if he didn't get hurt for those 2 games with the shoulder, it's a good chance he might have beat out Mahomes for the MVP. I mean, it was neck and neck. This game showed me that Jalen Hurts is without a doubt the real deal and here to stay. I know he came up short in this game. I know they lost. I know he had the fumble. Jalen Hurts in this game, 27 for 38, 304 yards, 15 carries, 70 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. The kid, he's a dog, man. He is a dog, and he's got it, man. And I like to see him put it together. And this just goes to show a lot of people doubted this kid. Coming out of college, going to Alabama, transferring, going to Oklahoma, kid bench in the national championship. Kid's been through some stuff. But he just had an MVP level type season. He's 3 points away from winning the Super Bowl. I think Jalen Hurts is here to stay. And Philadelphia Eagles fans, they should be very excited for the future. I know right now it is tough. I know what it's like to be on that losing side. It is not fun. I've been there twice. But I like Jalen Hurts a lot. I like what he brought to this game. I think that this was I'm not going to say his coming out game, but this was the game that he was like, hey, I am for real. And he was able to play a fantastic game. So I want to give a shout out to him. He played very well. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, two guys that were, played fantastic all year. They played well in this game. The Eagles defense, was really what was disappointing. Hassan Reddick, another guy that played for my Panthers, was a beast all year. A freak all year. One of the best pass rushers in the NFL. You got guys like Josh Sweat. You got guys like Fletcher Cox. You got guys like Jordan Davis. And Ndamukong Suh. According to the stats here, it looks like Suh and Davis did not register a single tackle. There were no sacks by the Philadelphia Eagles. I think there was one sack in this whole game, and I think it was for the Chiefs. And it was really there was two sacks in this game according to the stats. One of them was just like Hurts was kind of running out of bounds, and the guy just kind of pushed him, and he fell behind for like a yard. Not really a sack. This Eagles defense that was third all time in, sacks in a season, they did not show up. But I've already spoke about that a little bit earlier. The secondary did not have the best game, Bradbury and Darius Slay. But overall, the Eagles have some free agents that they need to obviously take care of as well. But listen, you got the two most important pieces right. You got the coach, Nick Sirianni. He's a fantastic coach, young guy, going to be there for a long time. And you got Jalen Hurts, young quarterback, going to be there for a long time. If he keeps playing at this level, I guarantee he'll get back to some more Super Bowls. And with his demeanor and his work ethic and his level of dedication, I would not be surprised to see him back, or at least in this conversation. NFC Championship game next year, in years to come. Eagles, they're young. They've got lots of draft capital still. They're going to be here to stay. Right now, they are still the top team in the NFC unless proven otherwise. It's right. I know the league changes year and year. It's so tough. But right now, them and the 49ers are the cream of the crop. And right now, the NFC is very weak. It's very weak. So, yes, the Eagles need to replenish. And, they've got some older guys and some guys that are free agents that might leave and might go elsewhere, might retire. But for the most part, they've got guys, and they will be back. Jalen Hurts, he's going to get his contract, he's going to get his money, but that's not going to change him. He's still going to be that same guy. And I think that right now, as hard as it is to be an Eagles fan and to go through that loss, they'll be back. They will be back. They will be longtime competitors in the NFC for a long time to come. And, they've got talent across the board. If they can keep the quarterback, they can keep the coach, keep a couple weapons, make some picks here and there to bring in younger guys on rookie contracts that can play well. Eagles will be fine. They will be fine. They will be in better shape than most teams that have been to the Super Bowl and lost. They will be just fine. Believe me. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about was the playing field in this game. This was one of the most underrated aspects of this game. And the more and more as the game went on, I started to notice, I said, man, these guys are slipping a lot. And then it happened again and again and again and again. And it just became a point where the commentators were almost bringing it up almost every other play. Oh, did you see that guy slip? Yeah, man, everybody keeps slipping. I was watching the first half of this game at a friend's house, my neighbor's house, actually. And I saw Jalen Hurts switch cleats. I couldn't really hear what was going on, because it was so loud and they were having a Super Bowl party. But I said, that's interesting. Why would he switch cleats? Excuse me. But now we know why. The field was in terrible condition. And I don't mean the look of the field. The field looked great. But the actual playing surface, guys were slipping like they were playing on a ice skating rink. It was bad. I've never seen that many people slip before. And we've had so many people complain about players, complain about turf and NFL playing conditions on fields. This is real grass. This isn't turf. So this is a different conversation. But still, we got the kicker Jake Elliott slipping on the kickoff. We got guys, A.J. Brown, I saw him slip a couple times, Devontae Smith. Guys on the Eagles just changing out cleats like they're changing out underwear. That's something that does not happen. And for it to happen that many times is unacceptable. And the NFL, and this is what I find intriguing, the NFL spent 2 years preparing the grass for the Super Bowl for this field. Now, if you don't know about the Cardinal Stadium, State Farm Arena, State Farm Stadium, whatever it's called, it is a retractable field almost. So what it is they have the ability to open up kind of at the bottom of the stadium, and that field, that grass, can roll out outside, and they would let it sit. And which is a cool concept, gives you the ability to do lots of things in the venue. Sure. But to spend $800,000 on sod to prepare it for 2 years and to install it 2 weeks before, I don't know about you guys, but I just had sod installed in my backyard last summer, okay? And I am by no means a grass expert or a sod expert or a lawn expert. I do the best that I can. I just had sod moved in my backyard. It took them about 2 days to put all the sod down. It was a couple hundred square foot of sod. In 2 weeks, for me to go out there and try to play on a field, to play in my backyard like that, probably not going to give me the best results. Grass takes a lot of time to get into that dirt and to, get sturdy and to plant roots and to be firm. I don't know what kind of sod this was. It could be completely wrong. But 2 weeks of that, and to have no one, touching it, walking on it really, that just seems like a recipe for disaster. I would rather have a field that's been a little worn in at least, and to try to just spruce it up and take care of it. To spend 2 years prepping this grass and install it 2 weeks before? I mean, I know you want it to look prime and good and all that stuff, but 2 weeks before, that's just not enough time. And allegedly they would move this thing out, let it sit outside in the Arizona sun or the Phoenix sun, let it sit, they'd water it, and they'd move it back in. Now, I don't know what kind of, stuff they have on the field inside the stadium. I know they don't have irrigation on the inside of the stadium, but whatever they've got going on. But if you were to water your grass, like just imagine you had a thing of grass, you water it, you put it outside, you water it, and you bring it back in. That type of, constant taking in and out, moisture, non-moisture, different elements, it's not a natural thing. And I don't know if, I could be completely wrong. I could have someone come on this video and say, hey, dude, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about with this grass. I could be wrong. But this just does not seem conductive. They should have had this really firm and worn in and tested and just field ready. This was not it looks great on the surface, but below the surface where all the stuff really matters, this was bad. And there was a lot of guys slipping and falling and slipping sliding. And it's kind of embarrassing, honestly. And you had guys complaining about it. You had people saying you know you can't complain about the field. Both teams playing on the field. Yes, they did. And the Eagles, they admitted that. Hey, we all played on the same field, but we lost. We're just saying, hey, we slipped a lot. And it was clear. It was on the film. Go back and watch it. They slipped a lot. Both teams, both players, especially the Eagles, though, slipped a lot. I've seen some tweets. This is from @_Peter @_Cook. This is a question every NFL owner should be asking Roger Goodell in the offseason. Why was the biggest game of the season played on a field that was slippery enough to injure players? Interesting. It just was really interesting. And then they just had paint all over the field, the logos. That probably maybe played a little factor into it. And the Eagles, they had one of the best pass rushers one of the best pass rushes in the NFL this season. They could not get to the quarterback. A lot of that has to do with offensive line, but people saying, hey, they just could not get back there and turn and make the moves they needed to do because it was so slippery. But it's neither here nor there at this point. I just thought it was really interesting. So NFL continues to do maybe not the smartest things when it comes to big events such as officiating and grass on the field. That's all the time I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl breakdown. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Philadelphia Eagles, you played a hell of a game. Fantastic year. Nothing to hang your hat on. Nothing to, put your head down about. Great season. You guys will be back. This was certainly a fantastic game all the way up until the very end. I just disagree with that call. And the field conditions were not the best, to say the least, in the desert. Let me know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments. Tell me what you think. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show thus far and tuning in and watching. We will see you guys next time. NFL offseason is here. We've talked pretty much a lot of NFL almost strictly here on the show. So things are getting ready to have to change. NFL will still be a heavy topic, but there will be other sports and other topics that we will get into. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Support the show, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.